chapter 12, yeah, that's good. 13 and 14. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, 13 and 14. Okay, there it says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it is good or whether it be evil. So here it's saying, hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Even if we don't know much about the Bible, the conclusion is fear the Lord and live for God. So that's what God expects from us. And Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7, we all know that it's saying fear of Lord is the beginning of the wisdom. So these things are all talking about the giving reverence to God, giving fear to God, the spiritual fear. That's what we're talking about. And we all, face some, we all know that we had to fear God. But there are some situations that comes in our life that we really tremble and fear that God is real. For example, let us go to Genesis chapter 22, verse 12. Genesis 22, verse 12. So when you read that, you might think Abraham didn't have any fear of God before. Why? But after this incident, he really truly believed that God is in control and God is on the throne. So that kind of fear came into his heart. Now we'll read another portion, that is 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 9. Okay. So here David saw the Uzzah who died, when they were bringing the ark. And Uzzah died that time. He really trembled and feared God. I mean, he always praised God and feared God, and he always worshiped God. But at that incident, he truly knew who really God is. So we all come across some situations we really feel God's presence and we fear him. So today I'm going to talk about not this fear, but the physical fear. We all go through, as a human, we all have some fear, right? Because fear is a natural emotion. It is good in one way because if we don't have fear, for example, if there is a rattlesnake here and if we don't know the poison, the power of its poison, we won't fear and we let the kids play with that, right? So it is good to have fear in our life. But when it takes control of our life, that's when it makes a big difference. When I say this, don't think that I'm excluded, because I had so much fear about snake and all. Even these kids always make fun of me. But, I'm glad, now there's no snake or anything here. So I just wanted to share a story. Once there was a couple, Jenny and Mike. They were living so happily. And one day, Mike couldn't sleep. Lately, every night he go to sleep, he cannot sleep. So he told his wife, I'm not able to sleep at night. So she asked, what happened? Well, every time I sleep, I'm thinking there's something underneath the bed. So now I cannot sleep. So she said, okay, I will sleep under the bed tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about. So the next day, he sleep on the bed and she sleep under the bed. And then still he is fearful. So the next day she said, okay, you sleep on the bed. I will sleep on the bed, you sleep on. And anyway, whatever they tried, nothing helping. So they went to the doctor. Doctor, of course, prescribed sleeping pill. They tried sleeping pill, it didn't work. So they didn't like that doctor. So now they go to another doctor. So they're spending money after money and nothing helping. So after 2-3 months passed, they're both getting so tired. And one day, as Barry said the other day, the light bulb flashed sometimes, right? So now the light bulb goes on. So the wife got an idea. So she said, Mike, so from tonight onwards, we're all going to sleep good. So he asked, what happened? I have an idea. So what happened was she took the bed frame off. So now they're all sleeping on the mattress. Nothing to worry about under the bed, nothing to worry about on top of the bed. So fear can make us crazy. Fear can drive us make wrong decisions, or it can cause a lot of damages in our life. So if that fear come to our house or into our family, what happens? I was reading one portion that really touched me, and I just wanted to share with you. And the fear and faith, that's my topic today, fear or faith. What is that driving our life today? So this family, when the fear came to their house, their family fell apart. they were not family anymore. There are husband, wife, and two children. But after the fear took control of their life, that family fell apart and they couldn't live together anymore. Let us go to Genesis chapter 25, 20 and 21. Okay, that's good enough. So here it's saying Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebecca. And then verse 23, I believe it's saying that he was 60 years old when they were born. 26. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 60 years old when she bare them. So 40 years old, Isaac got married, and 60 years old when the child was born. We always talk about Abraham. He was waiting for 25 years to get baby. But here, they also waited a long period. 20 years, they didn't have any children. So after that, they prayed. It's saying that Isaac prayed for his wife, and they brought forth two children. They had twins, and they got a promise. That's what we read in 22. Verse 22 and 23, if you can read.
And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bone. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Okay. So the kids were struggling inside her womb, and she went to God. Good thing, that's what we should do. When we have problem, go to God instead of going to other people. So she decided to ask God for what is going on. So God gave her a promise that the elder shall serve the younger, which that is very uncommon in the ancient culture. Even in the Middle Eastern culture, we can see that that's not very common. So I don't think they liked it, but that's what God's promise. So verse 26, we can see that, and after that came his brother Esau, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 60 years old when she was barren, and the boys grew. So we don't hear much about their childhood. So I believe that just like any normal family, husband, wife, and these two children were living, I know they are God-fearing people, so they had prayer in the house, and they were living so happily in that family, and the children grew. There is no any events happening in their young childhood. But after that, when we read to Romans, there is one portion in Romans chapter 9, verse 15. So I will have mercy on whomever I have mercy, and I will show compassion whoever I want to show compassion. So grace is something that we cannot grasp. That's what happening in that family. So we don't know whether Isaac was there when God was speaking to Rebecca, but I'm sure they all knew that there is a promise going on in that house that the older shall serve the younger. And that is against what is happening in that ancient culture. So after that they grew, and before we go into the details how the fear took hold of their family, we have to know each one's character. First the father, Isaac, we will read. And Isaac is the son of Abraham. We all know that Abraham is very famous for his faith, for his obedience, for his sacrifice, and he always feared God, and he always giving sacrifice to God and everything. So we know that Abraham got the promise that his children will be blessed. So that is what Abraham got the promise, and his promised child was Isaac. So Isaac, we don't know much about Isaac in the Bible, because from chapter 12 till chapter 25, 13 chapters talking about Abraham. But when we look there, only 2-3 chapters talking about Isaac, and mainly it is talking about in one chapter, that is chapter 26. So that chapter 26, when we read, we can see how the relation of Isaac with God, we can see that. So he was not a man of faith like Abraham, his father. He was very weak in faith. He was very poor in making judgment, and he always followed the wrong pattern. So that's the kind of nature we can see in Isaac. Then we will wonder why he ended in the Hall of Fame. In Hebrew chapter 11, when it's talking about all the heroes of faith, he also included there. Even though we don't see much good thing when we about Isaac. When we talk about Abraham, we all talk about faith. But when we see Noah, he made an ark. When we look at Moses, all those people mentioned in Hebrew 11, they all did something great. But Isaac, do we see anything great thing that he did? We don't see, but still he fall in that group. So now we'll see chapter 26, verse 1. Genesis chapter 26, verse 1.
There was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went into Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar.
Okay. So he is going to Gerar. There is a famine happening in that land. Same thing happened in Abraham's life too. There was a famine in the land, and of course, he decided to go to Egypt. So, being a son, I'm sure Isaac knew what happened to his father, what happened to his cousin, because Lot is not anywhere there in the picture anymore. He was there with Abraham when he started, but all of a sudden we don't see Lot. So, I'm sure from his father, he knew what happened, how did Hagar came into their life, how Ishmael came, how there was problem in the family. All these things Isaac knew from his father. And of course, what did he do? Father like son. So he decided to follow the same path. He decided to go to Egypt. So that was his plan. He started his journey towards Egypt. So verse 2, we can see, God appeared to him and said, "Go not down into Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of." So he was following the same pattern because he has poor judgment. So, but God intervened and said, "Don't go there," because Isaac has a bad habit. Wherever he go, he stay there. He doesn't want to come out. So that's why when Abraham was trying to find a wife for Isaac, he knew his character. So he told Eliezer, "Go and find a girl from my own place and bring a wife for him." Then Eliezer is asking, "Suppose that girl doesn't come with me, what should I do?" Then Abraham said, "No, that's okay. Then you will be free from this oath, but don't take my son there. Because if he go, then he will end up there. He will not get the promise." So that's the kind of nature. So he decided, God said, "Okay, don't go to Egypt. I know your plans, so stay there." So he stayed in Gerar, and that's where he is living. So now we'll go to 3 and 4. So here God is reminding Isaac that I'm going to bless you through Abraham. It is not because of you performing well. It's not because you have faith. It's not because you are a good guy. But I'm doing it because of grace. I'm giving it because I promised to Abraham, your father, that his generation will be blessed. So that's a promise God is giving us too. When we come to salvation, God is giving that same promise which we read in Galatians chapter 3, verse 14. That's a very beautiful verse. Galatians chapter 3, verse 14. Okay. So at the point of conversion in our life, that when we believe Jesus, that promise is coming to us through Jesus Christ, because the covenant that he made with Abraham. So that's what happens. Abraham believed in God, and that's counted him as righteous. Same way, when we believe in God, God counts us as righteous, and all the blessings is going to flow to us through Jesus Christ. So that's the hope that we have in our life. So now we'll go to the next character. So here we see that he was making a poor choice. Now let us read verse 6 and 7. that Genesis chapter 26, 6 and 7. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar, and the men of the place asked him of his wife. And he said, She is my sister, for he feared to say, She is my wife, lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. So here people came and asked, Who is this lady with you? And he said, That's my sister. Same father like son. Father said the same story. He also said, because I'm scared. I'm scared they might do something to me. So Isaac was a very fearful man. But did they mess up with Rebekah? They were living there for years and nothing happened. Nobody messed up with Rebekah. But it's all that fear that was in his heart. So now we will go to 26 verse 12 through 14. Yeah, 26, 12 through 14. Okay. The Philistines envied him. On one side, he is getting a lot of blessing from God. Even though he is not a good guy, still God is pouring blessing. So compare ourselves also with that same thing. There is no merit we can say, but it's all God's grace. He's pouring blessing upon us. So here, he is getting a lot of blessing on one side, but on the other side, the Philistines envied him. Then the next verse we can see, verse 16. Abimelech said unto Isaac, Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. So here, Philistines envied him. Abimelech said, Go away, go away. All these years he has been living in Gerar, and now he's saying, Go away from here. So one after another problems coming. Isn't that some seasons in our life we also go through some problems? Sometimes God is trying to teach us something. So here also, God is trying to teach Isaac something. He's going through problems one after. Philistines are after him. The Abimelech saying, go away from him, even though he got a lot of blessing and wealth and everything. Now, from 17 through 22, it's all problem he going through. If someone can read 17 through 22, please. So thank you. So here it's saying Philistines are after Isaac. Earlier we saw that Philistines envied Isaac. Now they all are after. Wherever he goes and dig the well, they're coming and attacking. They're coming and taking. They're coming and filling it with the dirt. Finally, he found a place and a Rehoboth was revealed. So that shows that be persistent in our prayer. Be persistent until we see the result from God. There is a day that God appointed that God is going to make us fruitful in the land. So there, he knew that this is not the place for me. So verse 23 saying, he went up from thence to Beersheba. So he might be wondering, why one after another, why problem coming to me? But actually, God is trying to teach him, move from here. Go to the place where you're supposed to be. So actually, because of the Philistines, with the help of Philistines, God is pushing him away from there to Beersheba. So he went there in Beersheba, and there, verse 24, he's coming and, because he's a fearful guy, God has to keep on reminding him, he had the promise, don't go, be strong. So verse 24, he's saying, and the Lord appeared unto him the same night and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he builded an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants digged a well. So finally we see the first time in his life that is recorded in the Bible. I'm sure he must have built an altar and a sacrifice and everything, but here it's mentioning that he built an altar and sacrifice for God. So whenever we get a promise and we have to sit in his presence and get strengthened. So here we can see that's another character. He was fearful. Now let us go to the next character of Isaac. Let's read Genesis 25 verse 28. Okay. Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison. I know I said this before also. Isaac is always after food. His love towards Esau was very conditional. If you give me food, I love you. Okay. Now let us read 27 verse 4 also. There also it's talking about his food and his desire. 27 verse 4. And make me savory meat such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. Some fathers know to bless their children only if they get food. That's very sad. So he was so much after food, and you know what happened? Because too much after food, his own son deceived him with the food. That was so sad. So don't love anything more than God. Don't go after food. So that's another thing. There is another group of people that we read in the Bible that is too much after food, and God didn't like it. That's in Titus 1, 12 and 13. Titus 1, 12.
One of themselves, even a prophet of their own self.
Yeah, yeah.
The Cretans are always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies. This witness is truth. Therefore, rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in the faith.
Okay. So Paul is saying, rebuke these people sharply because they are such a lazy gluttons, and they are, they are not good people. So, they are after food. So Paul is saying, rebuke them sharply. So everything should be a balance. Go after food too much, then the next day we can see go after exercise place to lose the weight. So that's not a good idea. So have a balance for everything. So now we saw a lot of characters about Isaac. Now let us go to Rebecca. So some of these characters, we all should know that some characters in our life play a big role in our family life, in our personal life, and all the choices we make in our life. It can either build our family or it can break the relationship. So that we have to be careful. This Isaac had a lot of bad characters that really made an influence in the family life. Now, Rebecca, let us read Genesis chapter 22, verse 23. Okay. Now, 24:10. Oh, wait, sorry. 24:17 through 20.
And the servant ran to meet her and said, let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. And she said, drink, my lord. And she hesitated, and let down her pitcher down upon her hand, and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camel also until they have done drinking. And she hesitated, and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran again unto the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels.
Okay. So you can see she is such a hardworking woman. When you look at verse 10, we can see that Eliezer took 10 camels with him. He is going looking for a girl for Isaac, and he had 10 camels with him. They are having a long journey, and here he came and sitting by the well looking for some water, and that's when the Rebecca coming there. She already coming for the water for herself. So you can imagine how much water she has to draw. And there are 10 camels that she is saying that, drink, my lord. And she hasted and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. And when she had done giving the drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also until they have done drinking. So one camel can drink at least like 10, 20 gallons of water. That's a 1 gallon of milk, you can imagine. So 20 gallons of water for one camel. So 10 camels, that's 200 gallon water. Plus the water for herself. She has to draw. She has to go down to the well and draw and bring it. So you imagine how much she struggled. So that's her character. When she find out what she doing is right, she just keep doing it. She never, she knew that nobody can stop her. So even though she was wearied and tired, she went down and got that much water for the camel. So that is the good quality that we can see in Rebecca whenever she sees something good. And also we see another portion that is 24:58 in the same chapter 58. We can see she's saying farewell to her family.
And they called Rebekah and said unto her, Wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go.
Okay. So she didn't even wait for few days. I want to stay with my family. She said, no, I'm going. So whenever she knew what she doing is right, nobody can stop. So that also played a role in that family. So now we can see that next one is Esau and Jacob. How did they play their role? Let us read 25 verse 25.
And the first came out red and all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau.
Okay. Esau was a hairy man, red color, and he knew that he was not a chosen guy. Okay. So he has already a rough nature, and from the upbringing, he knew this story, and that made him so selfish. He was so much consumed in himself. He thought, if I don't look for myself, who is going to look for me? God is not going to look for me. God already said, I'm not the promised one. I'm not the one getting. So he was always thinking, I have to look for myself. So that was his character, and he was so much consumed in himself. And he has a rough talk that made him so selfish. Always think about my. That's what his character. So now when it comes to 25 verse 30, we can see he's asking for a bowl of soup.
Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom.
Okay. So he asked for a pot of soup, and Jacob was trading the birthright. Jacob said, if you give me the birthright, I will give you the soup. So this is another thing that food play in our life. He gave up one meal. Jacob gave up one meal and he got the blessing. On the other side, Esau took one meal and he lost the blessing. So there is a power in fasting and prayer. Sometimes we skip a meal and sit in the presence. There is some blessing flowing to us. So always be careful. That those things play in our life. So he said, give me the soup. I will give you the birthright. So we think, why, Jacob, you did that? That's your brother. He is hungry. Just give the food. That's what we may think. But he always look for the blessings and how I can achieve something. That's what Jacob's character. But you think God is blaming Jacob or Esau? Of course, God didn't blame Jacob, even though we think he did wrong. Let us go to Hebrew chapter 12, 16 through 17. Okay. So here God is blaming Esau, not Jacob. So now we can, because God saw the heart of Esau. Esau liked blessings, but he doesn't want to take responsibility. He said, okay, yeah, if I get the blessing, that's good. But there are a lot of responsibilities come with the birthright, and he doesn't want to take that. So God saw that. That's why God is condemning Esau, not Jacob. So these are the four characters we can see in their life, because grace is something that nobody can understand. Suppose out of all these people, if God come and tell me, oh, you are the one, I'm going to pour all the blessings upon you, I'll be so happy. But if I hear that somebody else going to get the blessing, not me, how do I take it? See, that's what happened to Esau. He could behave in a better way, but he didn't know what to do. That's why he became so bitter of this situation. And that made him a selfish guy, made him a rough guy, and he has no time to sit in the house, and he was always going in the wilderness for the food and everything. Now the fear started creeping into the family, because they all have this thought in their mind. Everybody knows. And everybody taking this promise. The promise is the problem in the house now. Promise is the elder shall serve the younger. So that is the problem in that family. Everybody taking it in a different way. So now we'll go to James chapter 1, 13 through 15. So the desire has conceived and it give birth to sin, and the sin, when it is full blown, bring forth death. So the desire is the one, the thought that in our mind, that's what starting that's the beginning of everything. The desire could lead to sin, or the desire could lead to something that we can build up. So here, instead of desire, the desire was like Esau. Esau's desire was he want the blessing. Jacob's desire was, it is mine and I should get it. Rebecca's desire was, yeah, God promised me, nobody else. I am the one who heard the promise from God. So sure enough, I want to make sure my younger son get the blessing. And on the other side, Isaac thought, no, that's not the culture. That's not the culture. So I cannot do that. So he is one. So the desire inside is all growing. They're all working towards how I can make this to come true in my life, whatever I decide. So Isaac and older son on one side and mother. So there is already division in the family. Mother and one son on one side and father and one son on the other side. So now, when you see a pregnant woman, when she starts getting pregnant, nobody knows, right? But she feels miserable inside. She knows she's irritable, she's sick, she knows it, but nobody else knows. Same way, the thought that's going inside, they all knew, but nobody talking about it, but everybody carrying this thought inside. And once the fear that came to a full-blown, that's when now we can see the action. Have you seen some people when they get angry, they throw stuff? They don't say anything, but throw things on the floor and do everything. Even though they don't say anything, we can see from their action what is going on in their mind, right? So same way, we can see what's going on in their mind. Now we'll go to chapter 27, verse 1 through 4. Okay. So Isaac, as I said before, his belly is controlling the life, right? So that already made him to make wrong choices. So he is calling his older son, go and bring some food so I can bless you. And Isaac thought, Esau thought, wow, I'm getting the blessing. I thought I'm not getting, but that's good idea. So he ran to get the food. But of course, when Esau was going into the tent, the Rebecca is listening what they're talking. Okay, so because she knew it is coming, Isaac is getting old, and I am sure if it is like a typical family, the husband and wife talk each other. So maybe Isaac must have been telling, I'm getting old, so I have to divide my inheritance and things. So she knew it is coming. How do I know that she knew? Now we can find our verse 15. Yeah, 27 verse 15. Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. So she already kept that cloth ready for, when time comes to use it. It's already stashed in her place. And that too, if you take a cloth from my closet, from my cabinet, the clean cloth, you don't get any smell of me, right? But if you take a sweaty, smelly cloth, then you may say, oh, that's her cloth. So same way, Esau's cloth, she was very wise woman. She took the sweaty and the smelly cloth, and that's what she kept for herself for this game to play. So that's why when we read in verse 27, see, she kept that dirty cloth there to wear on Jacob, because when father smelled it, father should smell the smell of Esau. How clever she is. That's why when she find out what she's doing is right, because she thinking that God already promised that my younger son should get the blessing. And I know my husband. He always make poor choices, and he always have a wrong pattern of life. So if I don't act in this situation, my younger son not going to get the blessing. So that's why she already planned everything, and she called her son. And even Jacob also thought the same thing. He was not a young guy. He must have been like a 70-year-old or something. So he can make his own decision. Even mother called, he can say, no, mom, that's not the right way. I'm not going to go for this. But he didn't say, because they both convinced in their mind that God appointed this, and if we plan this scheme, then God is going to be happy because we are helping God. God lost control, right? That's why we have to help him. So that's what happened in Abraham's life too. Abraham and Sarah thought God lost control, so now we have to do something. That's how the Hagar and Ishmael, they all came in the picture. But God taught them a lesson. No, I didn't lose control. I'm still, I know what it is. I know what to do. And God taught them, I'm still in control. But here, they didn't even give a chance because the fear is driving them, right? These two people, the mother and the younger son, thought, no, God lost control, so we're going to help God. So that's what they did. So in their mind, they are justifying their scheme in order to have God's plan fulfilled. So whenever we rationalize, whenever we think what we're doing is right, then we don't give chance for other things, or other people, or we don't give chance to listen whether we're doing it right or wrong, because we are so much caught up in that scheme and we want that scheme to be fulfilled. So that's what they both are focusing on. But so after we all know the story, so I don't want to go through it. So here, Esau is went to get the food, and Jacob is bringing the food, and father asking him, who are you? And he keeps saying, I am the older one, son Esau. So he got the blessing, and he came out. I'm sure the mother and the son looked at each other, and they did a good job, so they are so happy. But they didn't know this is the last day they're going to see each other. See how much fear brought the consequence in that family. Sometimes we read stories to kids, like some stories, in the end it says they happily lived ever after, right? But here it didn't happen like that. They didn't happily live ever after. Mother didn't know this is the last time she going to see the beloved son. She going to say goodbye. Through her scheme, she thought on one side she win, because out of fear she's doing all this. She doesn't want God to lose control, because she is the one who got the promise, and she somehow working it to work out that promise to come fulfilled. So as soon as they left, here Esau is coming. Esau came with the food, and he is asking, let us read verse 32. Okay. So in other words, Esau is saying, I am the first one, Esau. So I am the first one, I should get the blessing. So that's what, in other words, he is saying. So now we can see Isaac's response. Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, where is he that has taken venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yeah, he shall be blessed. So he was trembling so much. So this trembling is the one that made him, like, remember when I said Abraham had an encounter with God, and he really feared God that day, on that sacrifice day. And when Uzzah died, that day David really feared God. So same way, this time Isaac really trembled and feared God. God, no matter how much I resisted, no matter how much I tried to cancel your plan, I know you are enthroned, and you are the one, your plan always fulfills. So that fear came into his, that's why he trembled, and he's saying that, yes, he shall indeed be blessed. That's when that word came out of his mouth. He said, he shall be blessed. Because God spoke it, he's the one going to be blessed. So now he found out. That's one thing we all have to know. If our church member or any one of our family member, God decided to pour blessing upon them, and God saying, I'm going to use them mightily, how do we respond? Are we ready to support them and work with God, or are we going to work against God? So, see, this story is teaching us that lesson. We all have to remember, no matter how much you resist, God will fulfill his plan. So it is better to be obedient and work with God than working against God. And because Esau was so bitter after this. Now we can see verse 28, 3 and 4. Genesis 28, 3 and 4. Okay. This time Isaac didn't have any fear. He knew God is going to bless this guy. So before Jacob leaving, God, he is pouring blessing upon him. God Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and thou may a multitude of people, and give thee the blessing of Abraham, because he knew that Abraham's blessing is flowing to Jacob now. So he speaking it out again. Abraham's blessing is going to come to you, and thy son, seed will thee with thee, that thou may inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which God gave unto Abraham. So on one side, Esau is walking so bitter about it, and he's saying, I'm going to kill this guy. On the other side, father and mother decided, now he is the one going to be blessed, so I might as well bless him. And then Isaac sent away Jacob, and he is told Jacob, go to my place. Verse 6 says, when Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Paddan Aram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. So when Esau heard that, he thought, because Esau took two wives from the Canaanite woman, which was always painful to the parents. So he knew that my father likes if I take a girl not from the Canaan, from our own people. So what he did, he went to marry somebody, right? Let's read verse 6. So seeing that, verse 8 and 9. Yeah. Seeing that daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebajoth, to be his wife. So he thought this is the last attempt. He's trying to get some blessing from his dad. He thought, okay, if this is what going to help my dad, will be pleasing my dad, let me go do that. So I will get some blessing. He tried that also, and still he couldn't get that. So now we can see that they never had a meal together anymore. That was the end of that story. Now they couldn't live together. They always kept the bitterness. And Isaac couldn't blame Rebekah or Jacob. We don't see that he's blaming, because he knew that what he did was the mistake, because he knew God wanted to bless this guy, so just let God's way be fulfilled. But he is not blaming anyone, and there is no winner in this topic. We may think, who is the winner in this? Nobody was winner, only God was the ultimate winner in this story. So now we can see what is the final thing that we learn from this. Fear causes to scheme. We make a different plans through that. And that will make us to manipulate, because Esau was manipulating father, how to get the blessing. He thought food will help him. He thought, marry not a Canaanite woman. If that might help, nothing helped. He was manipulative, and then these people are trying to deceive. The fear comes into house. It can manipulate. It can make us selfish. It can make us to do wrong choices. So that one. But the opposite to the fear is the faith. The faith is more trusting in God, and it will help us to endure all the trials that we're facing. And faith will help us to obey the word of God. Faith will control our tongue and our action. And faith will help us to act wisely in a good way. Faith makes us wait patiently until God's time comes. That's what David had faith in God. David said, one day God is going to put me on that throne. And even though Saul was after him, and there was many chances that David could kill Saul, but he still waited patiently until his time came. Faith is demonstrated by obedience. So we can examine our life also. We are going to build our relationship with the fear or with the faith. If it is with the fear, it's going to end up in disaster. But if we're going to build our relationship with the people or anything in our life, it's going to build up in a good relation. So that's what we have to see. Now, let us read Hebrew chapter 12, 1 to 2. Let us run the race by looking unto Jesus. So what do we learn from this portion today? There are a few notes I just wanted to share. If you get a promise, or if God made a promise, no matter what, He's going to fulfill that. So we have to trust that. The next thing, if God grace is something that we cannot grasp, Grace is good if it fall in my way, but if it fall in somebody else's way, take it. Don't be bitter about it. Try every way to help them. Don't come short of grace, because Esau could behave in a better way and he could get blessing, because when God promised Abraham, through your generation, there will be blessing coming. Of course, that was falling into Isaac. But we don't see Ishmael fighting against it or going after. That's why Ishmael had 12 children and 12 nations came out of it. So the grace could fall through us too. Even if God didn't choose us to bless that way, maybe a different way God can bless us. So always bless us. Don't come short of the grace through our action and through our bitterness. And if God decided to pour blessing on somebody, try every way to help it out. And God always wins, and He is in control. Don't fear, don't let the fear take control of our life, because that will make us, do wrong choices and we go in the wrong path. And we can build our relationship with the fear or with the faith. It is our choice. And of course, the choices will make the consequence. That I said that before. If I decide to fall from a 10-story building, that's my choice. I can choose whatever I want. But when I am coming down, I'm telling, no, I don't want any bone to break. No, that's not my choice. The choice I made will choose my consequence. So that we have to remember, whatever choice we'll make, that choice will choose the consequence for us. So we have to do everything in faith. And Bible says there is no, without faith, it is very impossible to please God. So let's close our eyes. Hallelujah, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for helping.